This is a presentation of National Streaming Sports. Over 20 podcasters, 70 weekly shows, and a 3.4-star rating on Roku TV.
You're watching Mac and Jack on National Streaming Sports.
I don't know, Jack. It's a big decision.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying base.
Pittsburgh at Buffalo.
Thank you. I thought I was right. So anyway,
yeah, Mac, you're really interested in these playoffs.
so this is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning. You're listening to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Well, it's Wednesday, it's midweek, and Mac and Jack are back to give you the latest in sports news, rumors, gossip, whatever we can sink our teeth into. Of course, we'll be doing Major League Baseball scores and some factual stuff, too, because, we don't want to be one of those programs that just spread rumors, right, Jack? Good morning. Good morning, everyone out there. Glad to have you with us. Jack, the NFL has changed, not just in the way they approach their game, but it's changed in the way players react to certain things. And Tua Tagovailoa, I call him Tua just for short and because I can pronounce that. He was kind of, I don't know if I want to say throwing Brian Flores under their butt, but he talks about how it was to play underneath the former head coach of Miami Dolphins, Brian Flores. He said during a podcast that, if you're told every day that you suck and that you're bad and that you shouldn't be here and that, you have to work to get your way into this team, compared to what his new coach says, that he's accurate and he's great and all the good things, it would affect anybody if you heard that day after day. Since then, Brian Flores has come out and said, congratulations on Tua's success. I'll take this to reflect on, how I coach in that. So he kind of took the high road. What are your thoughts about all this stuff, Jack?
My thoughts are Tua is entitled to feel the way he does. And based on the evidence, if I had to say who's right, who's wrong in this situation, Tua is the guy who's correct. I mean, he developed much more after Brian Flores left. And especially in this rookie year, we started to doubt Tua a little bit. He was a prime prospect. He kept getting yanked out of games. And Brian Flores, if you start looking at his history, he could be a difficult guy. I mean, he's a smart coach in the sense that he did get something out of the Dolphins. The Dolphins had a degree of success under Brian Flores, and I thought he was potentially a very good coach going forward for another team to hire. But look what happened to him afterwards. He didn't get the job of his dreams, the New York Giant head coaching job. So what does he do? He puts some type of lawsuit out there like he was done wrong. It was a racist thing why he didn't get the Giant job. And then he tries to sue the Miami Dolphin owner who gave him an opportunity to begin with. It's accusing the Dolphin owner of saying certain things that were unproven. And just Brian Flores, there was a real character issue outside of the Tua thing. He landed at Minnesota as a defensive coordinator. And believe me, I'm not impressed that a couple of players are standing with him as he's having that little press conference to talk about Tua. I'll give him credit that he didn't go back at Tua. He seemed to acknowledge, Brian Flores, that he could have done better. You know, he seemed to acknowledge that. So I do give him, credit as far as that goes. But yes, I believe Tua, what he said, that Brian Flores was an utterly miserable coach, for him at least. I mean, it's a bad thing, Mac. You go to a job, as Tua said, and you're being told all the time how terrible you are. And I know some coaches get hard on players, and I know you could tell me Bill Belichick pushed Tom Brady, but we're talking about a rookie, okay? A rookie coming into the league who's constantly being torn down by his head coach. We see the difference between Brian Flores and Mike McDaniels, how Tua's thrived under Mike McDaniels as opposed to playing under Brian Flores.
Good morning, David. Glad to have you with us. So I'm going to take not Flores' side or side against Tua. I just think there's a little rewriting here. First of all, it was a rookie. Tua was a rookie, and the first 2 years, of course, quarterback's not going to play as good in his third and fourth year. Also, there was a lot of injuries to Tua during his first two seasons, Jax, if you remember. He only played 9 games his first season. I think he played 13, if I'm not mistaken, in his second. There was a broken finger. There was hurt ribs. There was a bad back. And, of course, there was 3 concussions that happened in the second year. So the play of Tua was affected a lot by his injuries, not just by his coaching. And if you remember correctly, when he first came to camp, he didn't even know the playbook. So Tua, I'm not saying that Flores, no, that's first-time head coaching, didn't make mistakes. I mean, every good coach knows what buttons to push. Even Bill Belichick isn't hard on every player. He tried to keep it equal. Bill Parcells, who was an old-school coach, wasn't as hard on every player. But this was his first time coaching. This was Tua's first 2 years in the league. And, of course, he's going to grow in his third and fourth year. And if he's not injured, of course, he's going to play better than he did those first 2 years. So I think there's a little rewriting of history here of what happened Tua compared to Tua last year as his first 2 years, Jack. So
no, that's not the issue. You're missing the issue.
I'm not missing the issue. What I'm saying, Jack, is that I think we're rewriting history, that it was this that made Tua play bad. It's not only this.
No, that is not what was the main focus on what was going on. How Tua was playing directly. It was how he was treated by his coach. His coach was always telling him how bad he was, how awful he was, how he didn't belong in the league, and would tear him down. And it's hard.
Says Tua. Says, I haven't heard any other player come out yet.
Flores does not deny
so
it.
where are the other, and this might happen later, Jack, I could be wrong, where are the other Miami Dolphin players playing underneath Flores that said this? That says this.
Well, this is the quarterback.
I don't care who it is. And Tua, maybe in the last 2 years, with him not winning a playoff game, maybe it would be good that he had old school coach there kind of being a little hard on him, and maybe he wouldn't fold up during the cold weather. You know, I mean, there's 2 sides to every story, Jack. There's 2 ways to motivate people, and all we're hearing is Tua saying, well, he was mean to me. Well,
Mac,
I can't help it that you've been babied from high school through college, and you got to pros, and you got yelled at a little bit. And maybe you were yelled at every day. I don't know. That's what you say.
Mac, he had a tough coach. Are you kidding me? Nick Saban was his coach.
Now
he had a tough, no-nonsense.
Here's where I'm going to enlighten you. Here's when I'm going to enlighten you. Nick Saban has never been tough on his quarterbacks, as he said to his coach, to the head coach of Chicago. Do not stand there and criticize him. He told him, work with him, be patient with him. He said almost to coddle Caleb Williams. This was his direct words in Hard Knocks videotape about how you treat a quarterback, Jack. It wasn't be hard on him. It was take it easy with him. Be patient. Be there for him. These were the words that Nick Saban gave to head coach Eberflus of the Chicago Bears during Hard Knocks. Totally opposite of what you're saying as far as being hard.
And Nick Saban is the same coach who yanked Jalen Hurts from the championship game, his starter, and replaced him with Tua. And that was a no-nonsense move in the
what does
biggest
that have to
possible
do with
time.
what does that have to do with
Okay,
being
so you support
hard?
So,
What is that? Wait, Jack. I'm not going to let you just say that and move on. Wait a minute. I wanted to directly answer what you just said, that he pulled Hurts out and put Tua in. He did that for the team for a better chance to win. That wasn't being mean. That was giving the team a chance to win. So he didn't yell at Hurts.
Flores has been known. Wait a second, Matt, quiet down a second and let me talk.
Be quiet down.
Brian Flores has been known to get rid of coaches, assistant coaches, more so than other coaches have around the league. When he didn't get the job he wanted with the Giants, he immediately filed a racial discrimination suit, like as if he felt a sense of entitlement.
You're talking about me, talking about something that has nothing to do with the treatment of Tua. You're talking about he replaced three offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators. You are correct. But that has nothing to do with Tua. You also are saying that he filed a lawsuit against the NFL teams, which is still pending, by the way. That has nothing to do with the way he treated Tua. You're telling me not to talk about it. You're the one that's talking about it. I'm saying that I don't know what was said. Tua said this is what's said. I'm not calling him a liar. I'm not saying what he's saying is wrong. But there's two sides to every story, Jack. Flores didn't go there. He took the high road. He said, I'm happy with his success. All I'm telling you is that when Tua played his first 2 years, he didn't know the playbook. He was hurt constantly in the third year, and he only played 9 games with it because he had an injured finger in the first game. Aaron Rodgers injured his thumb during the Giants in his last season with Green Bay. They went 7-9. Aaron Rodgers played terrible the last few games. Are we going to say it was because the coach was yelling at him, or are we going to say maybe he had a little problem there, just as Tua did? I'm just pointing out things that happened during those first 2 years besides Flores calling him names or saying he shouldn't be there. That's all I'm doing. I don't want to rewrite history here, Jack. I know the facts. I know what Tua said. I don't know. I haven't heard any other Miami Dolphin player say this about Flores. So if someone comes forward, all right, I give it more credibility. If Tua was just being very emotional and hypersensitive, I don't know. I don't know. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, I mean, are you done or what? You have more time?
Well, yeah. Well, I cut you off like you cut me off. I'm just saying things, Jack, that are facts. I don't know if that's
no. If 1 + 1 = 2, that's a fact.
The fact is
an opinion. Learn the difference between a fact and an opinion.
I went back and looked at Tua's first years in the NFL. Factually, he was injured both years, Jack. That's a fact. What Tua's saying is not a fact. It's what he's saying, what he feels, or he says what his account was of those first 2 years.
Brian Flores hasn't been coach of the Dolphins for the last couple of years.
Right.
Okay. So he's a couple of years removed from Brian Flores.
Right.
So it's not like he's bad-mouthing him immediately as soon as the coach leaves, taking a dig at him, taking a cheap shot at him. There's no such thing as Tua throwing Brian Flores under the bus. That's absurd. Brian Flores and him apparently had no relationship at all. There was no goodwill there for him to throw Brian Flores over the bus. And it's not like under the bus. It's not like Brian Flores just got fired from a job and Tua's saying, well, good thing he doesn't deserve to be coaching because he's at this and that. So it's not like he took a cheap shot at Brian Flores at all. They asked him his opinion on something. He stated the way he feels. He's entitled to feel the way he does.
Yeah,
Brian
sure.
Flores is entitled to feel the way he does.
But
That's
Brian Flores did not come back at Tua and say, "Hey, listen, you came in the NFL, you didn't study your play." Why couldn't he?
Couldn't, because
Why?
Brian Flores knows the way he acted. He knows how condescending he was towards Tua.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it rolling, because I for some reason I don't think that you understand what I'm saying. I never said that Tua was wrong. I'm not saying Flores was wrong. I'm just giving you facts, Jack, of his first 2 years, and that in the third and fourth year, you would, of course, gain experience and hopefully get better. And not
Matt,
being
we've all been in jobs in our life where we had a superior, like a supervisor, okay? And I think most of us have had jobs that at one time we had a superior to us who was really mean, a bad guy to work under. And then you get who would tear us down all the time, it would seem. And then you get someone else coming in their place, okay? And they show confidence in you. You know, they value you. And there's a difference. And then someone asks you about it later on, and you say, yeah, I'm so much happier to work for this guy than that guy, because the past guy was just not good to work with. I mean, that's all Tua's basically saying. It wasn't good, being coached by Brian Flores. It was bad for him. He wasn't saying Brian Flores is a bad coach. He wasn't saying
that is definitely what you can gather from that.
A bad coach for him. For him, he was a terrible coach. But he's not judging Brian Flores all around as a football coach. It was just a bad guy to be under, to come to work with each day.
And Jack, as you said, we all have been through that. And I've never been through where a guy tears me down every day, because that would not happen. But the point being is I've had rough or harder managers, and guess what? If you perform, they're not going to tear you down. If you come prepared, normally they don't tear you down. It's called life, Jack. And I haven't been pampered like these other athletes coming into the NFL from high school to college into my profession, right? I mean, I haven't had cheerleaders and parties for me when I walked into a restaurant to become a whatever kind of chef I was. And I'm sure that when you became a senior writer, there was no big party and people walking you around telling you how great you were. You had to.
No, but I had someone when I first started writing. I had an editor who was telling me how bad I was, how I never was going to make it. He barely kept me around. Kept me around. And for years I thought of him, and I didn't look back on him too fondly as an editor. And if someone asked me about him, I would say I enjoyed working for the editors afterwards more than I did for him, because of the lack of confidence that he showed in me. I'm entitled to feel the way I did.
You're entitled to do that, Jack, but you're also, to me, you're going on a national TV, which is going to be picked up, everybody, about a coach that is coaching the NFL right now. So you are kind of throwing him under the bus, Jack. You kind of.
Well, he doesn't own him anything to throw him under the bus. He never did. They're not teammates or this or that. He's not getting the blame off himself. He's just saying the way he felt. And you want to know something? If this was his way to get back at Brian Flores, in a way to get it out of his system, for people to know what he felt he went through with Brian Flores, is fine. Let him say it. And Brian Flores is entitled to come back and say what he wants. But I don't think Brian Flores could say anything so negative about Tua.
Here we go. I'm telling you right now, Jack, Flores took the high road. And what Tua did was throw him under the bus. He's currently coaching in a profession in a very popular sport, the most popular sport in the world, and he's still coaching. And I didn't hear you call that. editor's name out when you said you worked for a bad editor, and I don't think you would do that and worldwide if you were that popular. I don't think you would. I don't think you're that type of person. But anyway, let's get to more NFL news here. Let's see. Of course, Jaden Daniels is named starting quarterback of the Washington Commanders. I don't think there was ever a question about that. I guess it's official now. So Jaden Daniels is the starting quarterback.
Matt, what choice did the Commanders have? Marcus Mariota? Are you kidding me?
None.
I mean, come on, announcing he's a starting quarterback. I mean, you know, sometimes I think coaches don't announce it from the very beginning because they're hedging their bets. Let's say hypothetically Jaden Daniels would have gotten injured early in training camp, and let's say be out the year, and it could happen. It happened with McCarthy at Minnesota. This way he could say to Marcus Mariota, well, there's a good chance you would have been the starting quarterback anyway, you know, rather than make a guy a backup right off the bat. But no surprise. I mean, Marcus Mariota is not a prime backup, even a prime backup quarterback at this point in his career.
I agree with that too. Tyreek Hill challenges. No allows to a race. He's got certain arrangements. Of course, he wants him to sign a contract. He's put it out there. He wants it to be a 40-yard dash, which of course would work in his favor instead of doing a 100-yard dash. I think that Noah Lyles will be smart not to even participate in this, Jack, because it's a no-win situation. If by chance Tyreek Hill beats him, that kind of, you know, puts a tarnish on his gold medal. Even if Tyreek Hill is close, I mean, really close to him, that's no good for him either. If I'm Noah Lyles, I say, you know, I mean, don't fall for this nonsense.
I don't think he is. It's you know, it's 100 yards as a football field. So why doesn't Tyreek Hill call for 100? Lengthen the whole football field.
I agree. He's
you
not
know,
going to do
40 yards. I mean, come on. You mean to tell me he doesn't catch a pass and use his speed for more than 40 yards? And and Noah Lyles should give Tyreek Hill spot him 5 yards too as a bonus and make it 100 yards. And chances are that Noah Lyles edges him out, you know, with the 5-yard lead, 100 yards. So come on. I mean, I don't want to hear about it. And he could very easily enter any race the way I respect DK Metcalf. He went against the top sprinters in a legitimate track race. He came in last. But listen, he ran a fast time nevertheless, and he took on the challenge. Much more respect for DK Metcalf than, you know, Tyreek Hill.
Yes. I agree. Tyreek Hill, this is more of a spotlight thing, as I said.
Oh, yeah, get his name on there. Listen, 40 yards, how badly could he get beaten in 40 yards? So what happens? He loses by a yard or two, and he says, oh, man, I just got edged out. I could have beaten him if I didn't get a bad start, if I didn't this and didn't that. There's always an outside chance that Tyreek Hill could win that race because Noah Lyles isn't used to running 40 yards, you know.
Or he gets a bad start, or he stumbles. Or what. I mean, listen, as you said, and I was going to bring that up, you know, Cheetah, enter a sprint against some national champions, and we'll see how you do. If I'm Noah Lyles, this is where I say you got to earn it, buddy. Go do what DK Metcalf does. You win that, come see me. Maybe we'll talk. You know, I mean, don't put me on a spot here. I hope he doesn't fall for this because it's ridiculous.
Well, if he did, it would be a money thing. They'd have to offer him like tremendous money. And then maybe he would go through with it.
It would be a major event if this did happen, Jack. There would probably be a lot of money. There probably would be sponsors. But if he lost or he comes close to losing, what's good with his gold medal?
Oh, no, 40 yards as long as Noah Lyles won the race. No one would care how close it would be because Noah Lyles would be giving a handicap. You know, the idea was the other 60 yards. Meters or whatever.
Quarterback Colt McCoy retires from NFL, becomes a commentator for the Big Ten College Countdown, and also calls some games. Colt McCoy was a great quarterback in college, Jack. He was one of the better ones.
Yeah.
Yes. And NFL just didn't work out for him. He became a backup, and that's where he stayed, really.
He hung around a while, and he was a competent backup. He never really found his niche in the NFL. It never quite, worked for him there. But he had years in the league, and
Yeah.
sometimes a guy just isn't as good as you think he might be. That may have been the thing with Colt McCoy. We weren't sure how good he could possibly be. He didn't come out of college as exactly a blue chip prospect, but
Right.
we thought there was some potential there.
Right.
And it's what it is. He didn't have a career that has any reason to be embarrassed about. Not at all. I mean,
No, I mean,
he did about as well as he could do. I mean,
he
what
won
did you
some
say?
games. He won some games when he was put in there as a backup when the quarterback got hurt. There's
Yeah.
a lot of great college quarterbacks don't make in the NFL. So, but at least
Well, he
he's
wasn't
still-
a great college quarterback. I wouldn't go that
Well,
far.
well, let me give you some stats here, Jack. Colt McCoy.
Well, you're ahead of the curve today. man.
Kyle,
You're
yes,
advancing everything.
yes, outstanding college quarterback. Let's see. He was 28-5 in his history. He was a Heisman Trophy list candidate. He threw for over 3,000 yards his last game. He had 28 touchdowns and like 5 interceptions. So Colt McCoy was very good at Texas. They only lost 5 games while he was a quarterback there. So he was very good in college, but as you said, he was drafted low, Jack. So a lot of them did not have faith in his play coming into the pros. He wasn't a blue chip. He was drafted farther down the line. But as far as a college quarterback, it was very good, very good. But again, so was Tim Tebow. So,
Well, they look potential. The NFL,
Yeah.
how they won't draft a quarterback very highly unless they believe he's going to be a starter. Not that if they draft a quarterback lower, they think maybe he could develop.
Right.
Maybe there's something there. They're taking a chance on him.
Right.
Like the Jets on Jordan Travis in the 5th round, they drafted a quarterback. They feel, possibly he could develop late on and it's worth a chance. But if they're taking a quarterback in the 1st round, in just about every instance, they take him with the thought for him, to be a starter at some
Right.
point, even the 2nd round.
Yes, I agree with that. Brandon Ayuk is sitting back down with the 49ers after Cleveland and Pittsburgh's offer wasn't as big as he thought it would be. The Patriots offered him a bunch of money, didn't want to go there because of the quarterback situation, and he found out that his value wasn't as high as he thought it was, so he's sitting back down at the table with the 49ers and trying to work out a deal. He'll end up playing for the 49ers, Jack. That's what's going to end up happening.
Well, he's been hanging around practice. That's a good question, Mac. If a player is not practicing because of his contract situation, but he's attending the practices in street clothes and hanging around, should you allow him to hang around? Because I know Bill Parcells never allowed injured players to be at practice. He didn't want them anywhere nearby.
I don't think you can stop him from coming in. I don't think if you did ban him from coming in, then I don't think he can be fined. I think the NFL Players Union has recourse. You can't stop him from coming in unless
But in
he
the
did
rookie
something.
deal, Mac, you can't fine him anyway on the rookie deal.
Well, let me revise that. You can, but it will be forgiving once he signs. Like we talked about CeeDee Lamb, same thing. They are fining him, but once you're signed, they forgive it all. So that's the difference between the veterans and the rookies, where the veterans, they're just going to get fined. There is no forgiving of their fines. They will forgive. It's built in the contract, the rookie fines. Now, if you think about Chris Jones, they forgive his fines. He didn't play till the first 2 games, Jack, he missed. Chris Jones, if I'm not mistaken, he missed a couple games last year for the 49ers. They forgave his fines.
Chiefs, yeah.
For the Chiefs, sorry.
Well, Jerry Jones said something that I've been saying all along. He said it, I believe, yesterday. Players have contracts like CeeDee Lamb. Why are people getting on Jerry Jones? They have existing contracts. So if they're holding out while they're still on the contract, why are people criticizing the owner? The guy, CeeDee Lamb, has a contract this year. He should be there. He should be the one criticized. Criticize Jerry Jones if you want. for not extending CD Lamb, for taking a chance of maybe losing him to free agency. That's fair game. But if a player under contract is holding out because you're not giving him an extension, who's to blame for that? The holdout.
I agree with you 100%. There's no argument for me there at all. Not at all. And I would hope that they could work it out, while he's there. But for some reason, players today, again, I don't want to get into the philosophy top, but for some reason, if they don't get their way, in a lot of cases, they end up sitting out, and I don't know why. I don't know
Matt,
why.
you play till your contract is done, and then you're a free agent.
I
Then you
agree.
can do whatever the heck you want. Go anywhere you want, just about.
Yes, it's a power play, right? If he's that good, if he has another good year like he had last year, Jack, if that wasn't a fluke, if he had another great year, hell, he could demand almost anything he wants.
But they're scared if they get injured. Well, what about the team? The team could be scared if they extend him beyond this year and he gets injured. It works both ways. But the public, the fickle public, always blames the organization. They'll always stand by the player who is under contract and not there. When they're a free agent, once again, go against the organization if they're not signing someone, if they're not offering them a good enough deal.
Jack, I'm with you, man. I'm with you 100%. There you will get no debate with me over that. Robert Griffin III was fired from ESPN. They said it's a financial decision. Listen, I don't know if you ever watched some of the shows of Robert Griffin. I liked him. I thought he was very upbeat. I thought he was really good. He must have ticked somebody off. He must have. If you're going to keep
upbeat, yeah.
Yes. If you're not going to keep him, and you're going to keep the former defensive back of the Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers. I think you know who I'm talking about. Little outspoken. If you're going to keep him and not keep Robert Griffin, there's something wrong, I think.
You're talking about Richard Sherman?
Yes. So there's got to be some kind. He must have ticked somebody off somewhere. I mean, I think he was very Robert.
I don't know why they make their moves. They moved on from Max Kellerman. They kept Jay Williams on there for basketball. I'm not the biggest Jay Williams fan, Yeah. But, he's not bad, Jay Williams. I shouldn't single him out, perhaps. But certain of their moves they made, listen, they're entitled to make whatever moves they want, ESPN.
Oh, I agree. There's just there's some that, I don't watch these shows all the time. And when I do, and I find someone I enjoy, they normally get fired. So maybe I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. Anyway, college football starts.
RG3 is always upbeat.
Yeah, he was a fun guy. He was fun on
maybe
the set.
They thought he had too much of a dominating personality, and maybe he did tick someone off, on top, like you said.
Possible. College football starts this Saturday, Jack. Full game. Full week is the following week from Ireland. Florida State takes on Georgia Tech. Montana State takes on New Mexico. And SMU versus Nevada. SMU, of course, in a new conference this year, playing Nevada. New Mexico, they're pretty good. Of course, the primary game is Florida State playing Georgia and Ireland, which is interesting. I didn't really know that the colleges played over there. And then I thought, Notre Dame played over in Ireland one time. But I didn't know during the regular season they did that often. I guess this is sort of like like what the NFL is doing. They open up overseas. Interesting stuff. One thing I want to point out, Delaware State versus Hawaii. It's a pay-per-view on Sports Spectrum. It's a streaming service. Who the hell is going to watch Delaware State versus Hawaii? It's that maybe people in Delaware. I don't know. Is this coming to college football now too? Is where we're going to start seeing pay-per-view games in college too, Jack?
Yeah, Delaware State, Hawaii. I guess maybe some people in Hawaii and Delaware. I don't know.
Okay, I always look at things to find out what the heck's going on there. Major League Baseball. Freddie Freeman will play through a broken finger for the Dodgers. The Chicago Cubs release right-hand reliever Hector Neris, Jack. He converted 17 out of 22 saves this season, but he has a little control problem where he's walked 26 people in 44 innings.
Yeah, Freddie Freeman, before you mentioned a little bit with the thumb, he's sitting about 290 this year. Still one of the great clutch hitters, future Hall of Famer.
Agree. And your old friend Urshela, former Yankee, he signs with the Braves because Austin Riley will be out 6 to 8 weeks. I think Urshela ended up being a walk to win the game yesterday for the Braves. I'll give you the scores here.
Yeah. I mean, I've forgotten all about him. He was useful infielder for the Yankees.
Yes.
Little, a few years ago. So
yes.
Okay.
Cleveland did beat the Yankees 9-5 in 12. They kind of fell apart in the 12th inning. Judge hits his 45th home run, Jack. Again, late innings, Yankees fall apart. And
you know what we haven't talked about at all? We talked about certain free agency. I know you're going to get to that later, but Clay Holmes, no one talks about him. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year, and he's the Yankee closer. I always thought he should have been the Yankee middle reliever, their prime middle reliever, but that's going to be a little interesting to see, where he winds up.
Yes, it will. Let's see. Baltimore beats the Mets 9-5. They jumped out to a 7-1 lead and kind of didn't look back. Mets made a semi comeback, but
James McCann
Baltimore
had a big game, and the Mets had signed him to a 4-year, $40 million deal, and it just didn't work out. At the time they signed him as a free agent, it seemed to be a good free agent signing, but some of these signings just don't work out.
That's the truth. I think McCann was the second best rated catcher behind Realmuto at the time, and I thought it was a good move. The Mets getting him. I thought that would be their catcher of the future also, but as you said, didn't really work out for him. Atlanta beats Philly 3-1. Marcell Lozano hits a home run. So the Braves they beat the Phillies yesterday. Phillies have kind of been up and down. They won the last 5 out of 7 or 4 out of 8 or 4 out of 7, and they lose again. They're kind of going up and down a little bit right now too, as are the Yankees in Baltimore. I think they've been changed or tied all this month almost. Boston does beat Houston. Red Sox James Duran homers in the 8th inning. So anytime you
fielder, yeah.
Yes. So Red Sox
are Duran. Good.
Yes, definitely. So that's the Red Sox are still hanging in there at this time. So let's get to the free agents coming up this year, Jack, that are making their case to even, to make some big bucks here. Of course, the first one would be Juan Soto. You did say that this might be a Shohei Ohtani kind of contract. There's a lot of people out there that agree with you, Jack. Juan Soto, of course, batting over 300, up near 30-something home runs. Fielding-wise, I don't know, Jack. I've seen him make a couple mistakes out there that cost the Yankees some runs. He has made a couple good plays, too. So I think he's a good right fielder. Not great, but he is a great hitter, that's for sure.
Let's call him an adequate defensive player. How's that? He's adequate. He's okay. Doesn't hurt a team. You could make an argument that he's average or a little better than average, perhaps. No more than a little better than average. I wouldn't call him below average. That would be, I think, a bit harsh. The Ohtani contract was different, Mac, than anything I think Soto would get because Ohtani deferred a ton of his money. Ohtani's getting $70 million a year. For how many years? I forgot. Was it 12? Whatever the amount, 15 is years. I can't recall exactly. But in deferred money, it comes out to, let's say, about 47 million a year. And is Soto going to take deferred money? But Ohtani could afford to go on a salary of $2 million a year now and defer the rest. Because he had so many endorsement deals Ohtani has. He's making so much money off the field, and Soto's endorsement deals would be minuscule compared to Ohtani's, okay? So Soto's going to want the bulk of his money immediately, or the yearly salary to be a level amount. And it's going to be interesting to see where he winds up, because teams are going to bid on him heavily. And I got to feel, Mac, at least one team is going to step forward and offer crazy money. Now, if you're the Yankees, let me ask you, do you use Aaron Judge's contract as a yardstick? Not the amount of years, because Soto is going to be, he's 26 now, he'll be 27 or so in the offseason. They gave Judge a contract that would take him to the age of 39. So if they do the same with Soto, that would be a 12-year deal. A 12-year deal. Judge is getting $40 million a year. And keep in mind, the Yankees stretched that out till the last moment, and then finally they got it done at $40 million a year. I know the price goes up, but how much more could it be than $40 million a year that the Yankees could realistically offer Soto? Would they really offer him $50 million a year for 12 years, $600 million, after they held the way they held so firm with Judge? I don't think so.
I don't think so either, Jack. I think if they offer him 42 to 44 maybe a year, and it depends on how many years that he wants to. I mean, the agreement is not just for the Yankees, it's with him too. Does he want to try to get a second big contract, right? So suppose he agrees that he would sign with a team for 5 years. That gives him time to, if he keeps playing at this pace, to get another big contract. What does he want to do? Does he want a long-term contract with a team? That's a big question.
I think the Yankees overbarrel, because if they did sign him for, let's say, 42 a year, and like, let's say they gave him a 10, 12-year deal or whatever in that ballpark, I think Soto would insist, and I think the Yankees would have no choice but to give in on it, because it would be a deal breaker. Several opt-outs along the way. Maybe after 2 years, there's an opt-out. Maybe every couple of years, there's an opt-out.
I wouldn't do that. I'd give him maybe a 4-year opt-out, and this way the Yankees can find out whether he's worth it too. But the opt-out has to be both ways, not just an opt-out for him,
you're being too
but an opt-out for the
idealistic.
team too. No, I'm just saying that's what I would want, Jack. Asking me what I
Soto,
would want.
of course you want that, but Soto has the leverage. The Yankees might be in a scenario where they give him $42.5 million a year, and Soto would have arguably an opt-out after every season, something historic. He could opt out all the time.
Never would agree to it. Never would agree to that. If the Yankees did, they'd be foolish, Jack. I'm sorry. Soto is a great ball player, but he is not the greatest ball player out there.
The Yankees already indirectly agreed to the opt-out by getting him for 1 year, knowing he could be gone. That's the same as an opt-out.
I think what the Yankees did with Soto there, Jack, was bring him in, see how he played, how he liked New York. Of course, it helps them a lot with right-handed power too. That don't take that for granted. And for a chance at maybe making a run to the World Series, it wasn't just to get him in here and to play for an opt-out. They knew he was going to be a free agent. He was like a hired gun for this 1 year, and the Yankees knew that they would have to extend him or get him to a contract, what they've been talking, I guess, during the year. Listen, you can't just give him anything he wants, Jack. That's ridiculous. That's not how you negotiate. You've got to negotiate in good faith. You hope that he understands. If you're going to give him an opt-out every year, why even have a contract?
That's a little extreme, an opt-out every year. But I could see a case where there's an opt-out after 2 years. He has an opt-out after 4 years, an opt-out after 5 years, an opt-out after 7 years, or whatever. I can see that because I'm looking at it from Soto's point too. Soto might say to Scott Boras, I love being with the Yankees. I badly want to stay here. Get something done for me to stay with the Yankees. So Soto is going to think, okay, if something happens to me, I'm getting a little over $40 million a year. I'll be good. I'll go through the whole contract. But if I'm having a triple crown type year, something like that, I can opt out and get even more money. I mean, it's opt-outs are definitely going to be a part of it. Definitely.
And if I'm the Yankees, I would want to opt out too, in my favor too, because
But they
maybe.
wouldn't. There's no way the Yankees can get it, so you don't even
Well,
waste.
that's again, Jack. You're saying there's no way. That's why I have negotiations. I don't know if this. So listen, Soto is not the best outfield out there, Jack. He's not, and we're going to talk about another one right now. So let's push on. We got let's go to Brewers shortstop Willie Adams, consistent fourth
But
straight.
Soto's a great player. You're saying he's not. You're making it out.
Well, I mean,
better
I'm
than
not
him.
going to spend the rest of the show. We talk about Soto a lot. I'm not going to spend the rest
Outside
of
of
the show.
Aaron Judge, he is the best outfielder in the major leagues.
No, he's not the best outfielder. Come on, Jack. Defensively, really? You think that?
I'm talking about offense, defense, the whole package. Who would you rather have than Soto? What
Okay.
outfielder would you rather have on your team? Are you kidding me?
Okay, Baltimore outfielder Anthony Santandy, 40 home run power, better outfielder, Jack. Better outfielder.
No, Soto's by far a better player. I love Santana.
I'll take him. He's a better outfielder than Soto is. And he hits 40 home runs a year.
You would rather have him than Soto, you're saying, if you had a choice.
I'm saying if it's that much, yeah. If you're gonna put me over a barrel, I gotta give you an opt out every 2 years, and you want this amount of money, you're gonna be the highest paid baseball player in baseball, and you're gonna put me in an opt out every 2 years so you could.
Well, this part I don't
want
understand,
that.
Matt. This part I do understand and agree with. On these long-term deals, like 12 years, we don't know how good Soto's going to be 5 years from now. He's probably going to be very good. Chances are he'll be the same as he is now, but we don't know. And if you lock yourself in, these 10, 12-year deals, it's crazy in a way. But Soto is young enough. That's the thing about it. He's young enough for them to make that type of deal.
There's been a lot of players that are young enough, as you said, that have been locked into long-term contracts. That are they doing anything? Are they?
But Soto's a superstar.
Nemo's one player. Of course, we're talking about Soto compared to Nemo. There's no comparison, right? Soto's a lot better, but Nemo is a long-term contract. The shortstop for the Mets, a long-term contract. Is he living up to his potential? I mean, you could go through almost every team, Jack, and there's a player that's had a long-term contract, and they're not producing at all. And dare I say, you still got Mike Trout
is actually producing for the Mets. Whether it's worth $31 million a year, that's the question.
I remember what your exact words. If it doesn't help them get to a World Series, the contract sucks, and not sucks.
No. I said it just the opposite, Mac. You're not okay. That far off base. I said if you win a championship with the guy, you can justify that crazy 10-year deal. Like a case in point, when the Yankees signed Mark Teixeira as a free agent, was an 8-year deal. They did win a championship with Teixeira. Maybe at $22.5 million at the time, he didn't quite perform up to that standard, even though he did perform well. But they won a championship, so you can, justify the contract.
Right. So Mike Trout has 6 years left. He's played one full season in the last 2.5, Jack. 6 years left at, I think it's $36 million a year.
About 35, 36. Yeah. And that's an example with Soto. Mike Trout, when he signed the contract, was basically the same player Soto is now, but just a hair better than him, than Soto is now. And a little better than him. A little.
Do you count defense at all, Jack, when you say things?
Soto
Trout is far above superior Soto in fielding and at his prime.
Yeah. Well, Trout's an all-time great. Soto is a modern-day great. Okay, how's that?
That's
okay.
Good.
But the point is, look at Trout. Since signing the deal, he's been hurt a number of times. It's frustrating to him.
Yeah.
Okay. And if the Angels had a chance to have a do-over on that deal, they would trade Trout now if Trout said, look, I'd like to go to the Yankees if you can work out a deal. I think the Angels would accommodate him if the Yankees would take the contract. What do you think of this, Mac?
Yes.
Trout's problems have been injuries, not performance. You agree with that? His performance really hasn't slipped. It's been the injuries.
Yes.
If the Yankees lose Soto and they could work out a deal and replace him with Trout and pick up those 6 years in that contract, do you do it, realizing the risk?
No. That's Carlos Stanton all over again. No, of course I don't. I don't do that. No. I mean, I don't think he wants to come to New York anyway. I know he'd go to Philly. He loves
in New
Philadelphia.
Jersey. Why would
But
he
he
want to
loves
come to
Philly.
New York?
I'm telling you, he's at the Philly games. I've seen him. He loves Philadelphia.
He probably prefers Philadelphia, but he would go to the Yankees. He wouldn't object to going to the Yankees.
Do you want another Carlos Stanton, Jack? That's the question.
John Carlos Stanton. Well, he's better than John Carlos
I'm
Stanton.
saying, do you want that type of injured player? You're paying a
No,
lot of
not
money.
at all. No, not at all. The problem is if he is hurt, there's problem taking the field. Stanton is kind of clogging up the DH spot to an extent.
Yeah.
But you take a chance that he isn't going to be injured. It's a risk. It's a risk, but it's a type of risk the Yankees might have to take if they lose Soto.
It's a very expensive risk.
It's a very 6 years. It's chancy. It's chancy,
Okay.
Mac. But if it works, and he stays healthy, it could pay off.
Yeah, it could. Caitlin Clark, Jack, of course, we talk about Caitlin Clark all the time. She's 2 technical fouls away from a 1-game suspension, and every other game that she gets a technical foul in, she gets suspended for another game. Caitlin Clark is very emotional on the court, if that's a good word. I mean, a lot of times she's not talking to the player or the referee. She's just yelling and shouting. And I guess the last technical foul was because of disrespect for basketball. That's what they called her for a foul for.
I don't know what it is, but I will say this, okay? People buy tickets to watch Caitlin Clark play. And if you know the Indiana Fever are playing and you purchase the tickets with the idea to see Caitlin Clark, and she doesn't play that game because, she wasn't allowed to, she's suspended for technical fouls. I mean, how are you going to feel as a paying customer? You're going to feel like, I wouldn't have gone to this game. You would have felt cheated. But I don't know who to blame. I remember it happened once with Kobe Bryant. He got suspended for a game. And the game he got suspended for was when the Lakers were playing at Madison Square Garden. And the fans of the Garden hardly ever got to see Kobe Bryant play. So, they lost out on it. So it's one thing if the player's injured, but for technical fouls to suspend them a game, why not just hit him in the pocketbook or something? Let them play if they want to play, but they don't get paid for that game. I'm not sure what the answer is.
Speaking of selling out, Connecticut Sun versus Las Vegas Aces was sold out in the Boston Garden, Jack. Interesting.
Well, Connecticut and Boston, there's that link over there too.
Definitely is. Boxing, Jack, you're going to have to help me. I think it's Inoue, or is the name of the Inoue. Undisputed Bantamweight Championship versus TJ Doheny, September 3rd. Doheny is 37 years old, Jack. Is this a fight that people should watch?
Inoue is pretty safe in this fight. He should win handily.
Okay, so that fight really you wouldn't pay for on PPV if you were.
It should be if it were pay-per-view, it should be an undercard fight. Logically speaking, because Inoue is one of the top fighters in the world, pound for pound. Some even rate him number 1. So when a guy has a status like that, no matter who he fights, he's like a performer. It's more than just a fight. It's like a performance.
An agreement was made for the Saudi Arabian fight. Better be versus Bivol on the undercard. His Majesty, is that what you call him? He got
His
that.
Excellency. His
Excellency, His Majesty, his high honor or whatever. Gets Shakir Stevenson versus Joey Cordina on the card, Jack. I spoke to you before the show. Some people don't think that this is a great matchup, that Shakur Stevenson hasn't really been fighting well lately. And what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, a couple of fights ago, he had a very mediocre performance. His last fight, he was okay. It went the distance. He was fine. He won decisively. Shakur Stevenson is boxing's version of a free agent right now. He was with Top Rank and Bob Arum his whole career. He fought a lot on ESPN, but he couldn't quite get the big fight, in part because he was too good for his own good. He was high risk, low reward for the other elite champions. So he's been avoided. We know that. Top Rank tried to re-sign him. They offered him a 5-fight deal for a total of $15 million. The advantage to signing with Top Rank would have been he would have remained on the ESPN platform. The exposure is great on ESPN. So his contract ran out. He decided, apparently, he's not signing with Top Rank. He fielded offers from all the promoters, and the Saudis, I guess, stepped forward. I would assume they're paying him well for this fight. I don't know for a fact. I don't know exactly what he's getting. And the potential of really big fights might be there because the Saudis have shown a willingness to spend more money than the other promoters. So that seems to be the direction he's going in. But I don't know if he's signed with the Saudis. It might be a one-fight deal.
So far,
don't know.
Yeah, so far they just said it's a one-fight deal, and maybe he will sign with the Saudis. Maybe this is a stepping stone. Having him come and fight. I don't know how good Joe Cordina is, Jack. Honestly, I don't.
He's
I
good.
Really
he's pretty good, but I don't think he's a serious threat to Shakur Stevenson if Stevenson shows up in form. If he shows up in form, Stevenson is fine. He should win the fight. If Stevenson escapes with a close decision, it would tarnish him to an extent. Okay. But the fight that Stevenson is angling for is Tank Davis.
That
would be a major match, and I think the Saudis would try to get that done if they can.
All right. This day in history, remember 2010, Roger Clemens, he gets indicted for lying to United States Congress. He was, of course, it ended in a mistrial. I remember that Roger Clemens kind of, he was like a bigger than star there, and they were kind of enticed by him, and it was a weird. I remember part of seeing the highlights of the trial, Jack, and it seemed like Roger Clemens had him right where he wanted him. So I don't know if you remember it or not, but
it seemed that way in the beginning. He's in the Congressional Hall or wherever he was,
signing autographs.
They were gravitating towards him. Wow, that's Roger Clemens. They're baseball fans. We really want to meet him and this and that.
Yeah. I remember signing autographs. That was great. Let's see. 1985, Dwight Gooden becomes the first pitcher in MLB history to reach 200-plus strikeouts in his first 2 seasons. Dr. K, with all those Ks in the Mets. Fans just used to put him up there as he struck out batters, Jack.
I think that's when the K's started. That was the birth of the K's.
Yeah.
You see, and if it catches on more and more and more as we go along, we know that's where it started. Certain things are hard to pinpoint where it started, like the Gatorade bats, which I'm sick of already. I wish they would discontinue that. The wave. It starts somewhere. That craziness, a guy takes a foul shot. He's got to shake everyone's hand after the foul shot. They all come and congratulate him. Console him. It's nonsense. But
it is.
It becomes like a habit, and everyone starts doing it.
Of course. So, as we know, anyway, Doc Gooden didn't reach his full potential, but he did have a decent career, and he came back with the Yankees, got his no-hitter and his World Series. Folks, we're out of here. End of the top of the hour. We have coffee and sports after us. Roku all day, folks. We're jam-packed until 10 p.m. tonight. Have a great Wednesday. We'll see you again live on Friday. Have a good one, folks.